two killers, separated by an ocean and almost 100 years. One stalked the foggy, gaslit streets of Victorian London, while the other brought terror to sunny California. They both sparked a media frenzy, openly mocked the police, and are linked by one bone-chilling fact: they were never caught. So how did they manage to just vanish, leaving nothing but legends and a legacy of fear? The names Jack the Ripper and the Zodiac Killer are infamous in the annals of true crime. They represent the ultimate nightmare, the monster who gets away. The Zodiac Killer murdered at least 5 people, often attacking young couples in quiet, secluded spots. But just like the Ripper, his brand of terror didn't stop with the murders. The Zodiac launched a taunting campaign, mailing letters and complex ciphers to newspapers, claiming his identity was hidden inside them. Loved the attention, holding the entire Bay Area hostage with his chilling threats and puzzles. Their cases aren't just cold. They're black holes of evidence packed with contradictions, dead-end leads, and questions that still haunt us. Which case do you think is more terrifying? And what's your pet theory on who they really were? So let us know what you think in the comments. If you find these unsolved mysteries as fascinating as we do, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more dives into the world's most infamous cold cases. For one, he committed his crimes across different counties, making communication and teamwork between police departments a nightmare. Their ability to escape justice was a toxic cocktail of their own cunning. The circumstances of their time and the very real limitations of the investigations they sparked. While recent DNA analysis on a shawl allegedly found at a Ripper crime scene has pointed to a suspect, the evidence is highly contested and would never hold up in a modern court. Similarly, new documentaries and amateur investigators continue to bring fresh eyes to the Zodiac case, but his identity is still officially unknown. Their stories are a chilling reminder that even with all of our progress, some monsters are destined to stay in the shadows, leaving us with that one lingering question: who were they? Forensic technology had obviously come a long way since the 1880s, but it still had its limits. The complete lack of forensic technology, combined with the chaotic, squalid environment of Whitechapel, created the perfect storm for a killer to operate and then disappear. By spreading his crimes across different jurisdictions, he ensured that no single police department ever had the full picture. He was forensically aware, making sure to leave almost nothing behind for investigators to work with. But his greatest weapon was his manipulation of the media. He turned his murders into a public spectacle that he directed. His letters and ciphers made him a terrifying legend, and that legend quickly overshadowed the investigation itself. While a partial DNA profile was eventually recovered from the saliva on his letters, it is enough for a conclusive match and could have come from anyone who handled the evidence over the years. The police were understaffed, under-equipped, and were also fighting a media war that just added to the confusion. The Ripper was a phantom from an era before science had learned how to give monsters a face. DNA analysis was decades in the future, and the Zodiac was careful, leaving very little physical evidence behind. At one crime scene, he even wore an elaborate executioner's hood, making sure the victim who survived couldn't see his face. The only composite sketch police had came from witnesses who got a brief look at him at night, and it was so generic it was almost useless. Survivors often couldn't give a clear description because he would shine a flashlight in their eyes, those terrifying letters and ciphers. They mostly served to build his own dark legend, offering few real leads for a police force that was always one step behind. To figure out why they were never brought to justice, we have to look beyond the killers themselves, and into the worlds they operated in, and the chaos they were masters at creating. Picture London's Whitechapel district in 1888. It was a grim maze of poverty and overcrowding. The dark, narrow streets were crammed with people, creating the perfect hunting ground for a predator. That autumn, a killer who called himself Jack the Ripper went on a horrifically brutal spree, murdering at least 5 women. From the very beginning, the investigation was practically hopeless. Forensic science was barely a concept. Fingerprinting was a known idea, but wasn't used by investigators, and things like blood typing were still decades away. Detectives were dealing with a killer who left behind nightmarish crime scenes but almost no real clues. The press didn't help, fueling public hysteria with sensational headlines that created countless false leads and wasted police time. The killer made things even worse by starting a terrifying game of cat and mouse, sending letters to the police and newspapers. The most infamous of these was the From Hell letter, which arrived with a piece of a human kidney. While many of the letters were likely hoaxes, they successfully turned the investigation into a circus, and police had no way to tell a real clue from a sick joke. With witnesses giving conflicting stories and no scientific methods to rely on, the police were essentially chasing a ghost in a city that was all too good at hiding its secrets. Now, fast forward 80 years to Northern California. Between 1968 and 1969, a new monster appeared on the scene. The Zodiac investigation was a mess for its own reasons. So why did they get away with it? For Jack the Ripper, the answer's pretty clear. He was a product of his time. The Zodiac story is a bit more complicated. He operated in the modern age, but was smart enough to exploit its weaknesses. The legacies of both killers still send a chill down our spines today. Jack the Ripper and the Zodiac Killer remain two of history's most notorious unsolved mysteries.